My name is Loreto Bravo. I am part of the Digital Defender Partnership and part of Rhizomatica project.
And what are the issues that you and your organization face that you want to bring up here at the IGF in Paris, France?
Well, trying to have a dialogue with the regulators about the frame, the law that government need to develop for strength and support community networks around the world, in different parts of the world.
Are you concerned about repression and control of the internet by corporations and governments so people have less voice in the internet?
Yeah, definitely. We need to build another internet because this internet is completely kidnapped by the corporations.
And how is that happening? Talk about specifically how they're taking over the internet.
Well, because money, this is the main issue, produce more money is how they find internet as a tool to make money with our data. So we as a society, civil society, we need to build this other internet, thinking another infrastructure, autonomous infrastructure that doesn't depend on the corporations, and that permit that people have the rights of communication, the right to decide what kind of content they want to access, because this is the main problem. Like this space are talking about connect the other half population that are not connected.
But Facebook said they're going to help out, give free internet.
Well, yeah, but Facebook think that internet is only Facebook. This is the problem. And so we believe in another internet. We believe in an internet created by the people where you, as part of a community, indigenous community, LGBTI community, young people community, can decide, can choose what kind of content find there and what kind of content you want to put there, and how to manage all the information that you are sharing there. Now we don't have control about all these issues, all these things, because corporations are talking, are doing lobby with the governments, with the regulators to have a law that permit them to do what they want to do. No, they are not thinking about our rights. This is the main difference. You know?
And give some examples of that in different countries that you know about, specifically how they're basically writing laws that protect their rights to exploit people and exploit data.
Well, I come from southeast of Mexico, the state of Oaxaca, where the indigenous community asked to the telecoms for many, many years to provide them the rights of to have access to cell phone network, and the big corporation, big telecoms say, no, you are poor people, you are indigenous, you are insulated, you are poor, no big population.
Not profitable enough.
Well, exactly, and so what they say is reject these requests. And so what the communities do actually is develop their own cell phone networks. So they own the cell phone network, they decide what they do with this cell phone, and all the money that come from this autonomous cell phone network is for the community, is for the local economy, not for people foreign from the community.
And are these companies fighting that?
No, because they never lost. You know, like if you are in an indigenous community and you have your own infrastructure, you take your cell phone and call somebody outside of the community, you are connecting with them. So they never lost. They made money. So that is what it is.
And what is the role of Facebook in Mexico? I know in other countries, Brazil, they had this called Zero Internet, where they said they were going to give free internet, which was basically
manipulating the information that people have access. I think this is the main role of Facebook now, no? Like manipulate elections, manipulate, like the main topics that people want to talk, and of course trying to be like nice in a place where there are no human rights, basic human rights as justice, health, education, work, We like Mexico have like 200,000 people dead, like were assassinated, murder in the last 10 years. We have more than 40,000 people disappear. Imagine when we talk about human rights in that territory. It's a human crisis. And then you have corporations talking about, Facebook or Google or Microsoft. All these companies are completely out of the context that these people are facing.
Well, one of the issues is NAFTA 2.0, U.S., Mexico, Canada, USMC, and I understand it will continue control of these U.S. companies which have bought a large part of Mexico, including telecom. Carlos Slim is talking about selling telecom to AT&T. What do you think about these national, industries of Mexico that are now owned by countries or companies all in the United States and other countries?
I'm not.
You think they should be owned?
Yes, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar now with. I didn't read the new trade, but yeah, it's.
But I mean, the recolonization of Mexico, the land, Ejidos, been taken over. Farmers are kicked off. Corn used to be grown in Mexico. Now you have
the main issue now is all the extractivist industries are there. Ready to take all the natural resource from the community. So, like, government is, trying to protect the big companies, the foreign investors.
Protect their rights.
Exactly. Thanks.
And what do you think about Obrador, the new Obrador, new president-elect?
Obrador. What I think, well, we need to see if things change, because for me, like, have a nice speech doesn't mean that
talk is cheap.
Exactly, talk is cheap, and the main issue back to the speech is the economy. So what kind of economy model he will promote, we need to wait and see how is for the people, because the economy is really the main issue back of the technology of the human rights.
And how many community networks are there in Mexico? Is it just Oaxaca?
Autonomous
community networks.
Currently, we have 16 autonomous community cell phone community networks. There are around 3,500 users in these networks. So.
And you want to spread it out?
Yeah, but we don't need to talk about scale, because that is not our priority. Our goal is to provide communication rights to people that need to access to that.
And who builds these? Who are the people who make these networks?
Indigenous communities, Zapotec people principally.
So they get the skills and they start developing the skills?
Yes.
Are you optimistic about the future of this?
Yes, because I'm optimistic in that people is understanding that this internet that born with the idea to grow up, to be more like escalate, now is going to the opposite. Is like, ¿cómo se dice? Is not increasing, is like the opposite. How do you say?
It's repressing, or it's
repressing, or yeah.
They want to take total control.
And so, like, the idea is to build another networks with other contents, with other infrastructure. But for that, we need to understand how governments and regulators administrate the spectrum, because this is the main issue. Like, companies are ready to introduce new technology, to use more spectrum, and to do lobby with the governments to have more access to the spectrum. And civil society doesn't understand anything about spectrum. So we need to talk more about what is the spectrum, because it's a social resource, limited resource, and so it's like something that you can see, you can touch, but it's there and you use every day. So we need to be more conscious, more aware about what means a spectrum.
So this is an issue of democracy, the spectrum.
Definitely, yes.
The right of the people to control the spectrum.
Exactly.
Odile Ambry.
And Odile, you're here at the IGF conference, and you're with a group called eBastille. What is eBastille about?
eBastille is an initiative that was launched about a year ago about the question of the personal data, privacy, you say, in the United States. Here we say private life. It's a different word. And it so happens, Steve, that we launched a class action against Facebook last Friday. And it so happens that the President Macron today said that he wants class actions everywhere in Europe against the GAFAs, the big platforms.
And in the United States, the U.S. Congress and the politicians, none of them have called for regulation as far as privacy rights. Why is it that in Europe there's an effort to have some control over an individual's privacy on the internet, but apparently in the United States it's not happening?
Because we're not as liberal, because what do you call us, the nanny states, huh? We take care of our people. We worry about personal data and personal lives for our kids.
You don't trust the companies?
Well, what we're doing with Facebook is telling them, we don't trust you because those breaches, you were controlled a year ago. You said you would stop. A year later, you have not stopped. So no, we don't trust them anymore, if we ever.
So you're saying that he lied, Facebook lied to the people in France and the people around the world who use the system, the platform?
I'm not sure they lied. I think they tried. I think they're going to try again. But I think the only way to make sure they try really hard is the law.
Well, they argue that they need this information to make profit for their companies, that that's how they make profit. What would your argument be on that?
Absolutely. The question is not, Facebook is free, Google is free, Waze is free, so obviously they have to make money another way. But they should make money out of selling data to people they cannot control and who are going to collect those data and make something else out of it. Cambridge Analytica, a few months back, was the proof that you can make money out of data, but not change democracy and not change the outcome of an election.
And this is not just an issue of Facebook in China. Data, information, big data is being collected on people. People are being tracked, where they buy, what they buy, and whether they behave themselves. Are you concerned on a global level that the development of this technology, the internet, and these social platforms and other platforms are going to control the rights of human beings to any kind of privacy?
Yeah, there's something we call in French, European law, prejudice. I'm not sure it's exactly the same word in English.
What's the word in French?
Préjudice. Préjudice. It's a legal term, right? You have a problem, and then, so the prejudice here is democracy. Because those platforms are selling data to people who change the outcome of elections, of small elections, of big elections. And that has to stop. The question of marketing using users' data to sell them shoes or diapers, or because we know you're pregnant, we know you had a baby, so now we're going to try to sell you dead diapers. At a big scale is going to be a problem also. Predictive marketing scares me. They know what you need before you even realize it. No, thank you. Let me have my own needs. I can deal with them.
And since being in France, I've noticed that when you go to these websites, they ask you now, whether or not you want to be tracked. Is that came about as a result of your laws here? And why don't you talk about how that happened and the arguments against these companies used against that?
Okay, that's called Gdpr in English. And it took 10 years to have a law in Europe. So technology changed a lot during those 10 years, obviously. And maybe, I'm not sure you remember, but Mark Zuckerberg was in front of Congress a few weeks ago. And he was congressman from some state in the United States who said, Mark Zuckerberg, can we have GDPR? So he looked at, the way he looks at people. He said, but Congressman, it's Europe. And he said, yeah, but I looked, it seems nice. We want it too. And it's May 25th. Can we have it by May 25th? Since you're going to do it in Europe, why can't you do it in the United States, right?
That's a question for the American people?
Yeah, really, it is. Because I think Cambridge Analytica and all those scandals scared a lot of people, but they feel powerless. They don't know what they can do, what they can't do. We started this class action as a way to show people they are not powerless in front of those social networks and platforms. There are ways, there are laws, and they have to, obey by those laws. Easy.
Now, Bastille, what does Bastille mean to the French people?
Oh, come on. You know what Bastille Day is?
Talk about it. Most people in the United States have no idea what Bastille is.
I know. Bastille was the French Revolution, and that's when the people decided that they'd had enough with the king, with what was happening in the little villages in France. And they all came from everywhere in France with grievances, saying this has to stop. We're doing the same with the Bastille. We're gathering grievances from everywhere about those social networks. And when we have all those grievances coming bottom up, as they say in these conferences, then we'll show that they have power. They're not powerless.
So you're bringing all the people in the world together who have grievances?
No less.
Just in France or all around the
Song
world?
for that, no?
What is the song?
Your song, Pete Seeger. Okay, so we're trying. We're doing our best to raise awareness about how dangerous it can become to have platforms deciding for you, before you even, what's good for you. We should know. We know what's good for us.
And what can people around the world in the United States do who want to support your effort?
Go to ebastille.org, send us emails, talk to us. Things can be done in the United States.
You've not given up on the United States?
No.
Even with Trump?
50%, or 52-48, whichever. That leaves a lot of people. There's a lot of people living in the United States. So half of the country I can deal with.
Are you worried about the rise of fascism? Trump has supported Bolsonaro, the new head of Brazil, and the danger of he supported nationalist, racist Le Pen. Does that concern you and people in France?
Oh yeah, there were demonstrations yesterday in Paris about his coming. For some reason, he was the only head of state that raised a demonstration in Paris. So he's not very popular in France. No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.